So I'll start with Cindy. How are you?
I'm very great. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm doing well. So where I want to start is with the song "The Quarantine Blues," because that's
Ah,
the song you've recently recorded for obvious reasons. But then you mentioned in the song a sense of reflection, a sense of resetting. So how has that been for you when this whole pandemic and everything that came along with it struck?
oh man, it's been great because to reset, and
Mm,
not great because we're having this pandemic or
sure.
the issues that people are going through, but in terms of the resetting, it's been wonderful because you know I have a chance to, and I'm just speaking of myself, but it's given me a chance to really reflect on a lot of things,
Mm,
to get and delve deeper into like my meditations,
mm.
um, and to I do a lot of studying of like metaphysics and things,
Okay.
so I can dive deeper into the studies that I'm doing, dive deeper into my drumming, you know so this has been really great. It's I think a wonderful thing for the world as a whole in terms of reflection, in terms of resetting,
Mm,
because we have a chance to look at how we've been operating, how we treat each other,
right.
and we have a chance to birth something new on the other side of this. Like next year when things are fully operational again, how are we going to uh, exist at that point? Are we going to stay on the same track, on the same
Mm,
track, or are we going to come out better? You know, and my hope is that we all come out better. And if we're really looking ourselves in the mirror, and each person has to do that, each country has to do that.
sure.
Each field of whatever has to do that. Field of music, field of science, schools, politics, politicians, everybody, medicine. We have to look at, how, what is the reason for all of this.
Mm,
So when you look at medicine, at least in the United States, uh, a lot of it is, well, how can I put this? A lot of it is driven by money,
sure.
making money.
Sure.
So, is that correct? In my opinion, no. So, if for instance the medical field would take a look at that, if the governments would take a look at that, and some governments, you know, really do watch out for the health of their people, and it's not about trying to rape everybody for all the money they got.
Right.
But it's not always the case. But if we're able to look at that, and if we're able to really, really assess everything that we're doing, then we as a whole species, as a human race, can come
Mm,
out better. And that's my highest aim for us as a species, that as a human race, that we come out and birth something that is totally new, totally uh, um, congruent with the flow of the universe. You
sure.
know,
And then, yeah, like you say, I think especially these days with the technology that we have, everything's become so fast, and there's so many things coming at you that it's difficult to take that step back, as you say, and look at the world a little bit. So in a way, it's interesting that we have now that opportunity to do so. But what I find interesting with
yeah.
what you say, delving into the drums. Now, for somebody who has played drums as much as you have, who's as proficient as you are, what is the challenge in finding, well, like you say, in the last couple of months, you've delved into it maybe from a different point of view. So what have you found about your own musicality or your own love for the drums?
My love for the drums is growing. It's ever growing.
Okay.
Because you know it's just something that's a part of my soul. It's a part of my spirit, and it's the way that I communicate best when I'm playing. It's the way that I commune best with the universe. It's the way that I channel energy best. And so learning how to do that better and more proficiently is something that I've been looking at in this period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there particular styles or elements of drumming that you've been focusing on?
Elements, yes, like sound. I'm really into the sound of the drums, the sound of each part of my instrument, and getting the not only the best sound, but projecting that sound, on each part of the instrument. I'm always looking to improve myself,
Sure.
improve my proficiency, improve my clarity, just always looking to make sure my skills are always going up, and always looking for new things to play, so there's always and new things to learn. There's always something to learn. There's always room for growth. So to me, that's the track I am. It's like, being a constant student, a perpetual student, and I love that because you're always on a trek. I come from a town that's a college town, and I went to school in a college town. I come from Yellow Springs, Ohio, which had a college there. And I went to school at Berklee College of Music, and Boston is a college town. And I love college towns because you have a whole city or a whole town or a whole village or whatever it is of people who are always learning something. People are always striving to do something, and so that kind of energy, that's just part of who I am. I love that, so that's, fortunately for me, that's something that's, in my DNA.
Right. Oh, this was very good. Because, well, one of the things when we move towards the record, Give the Drum a Song, one of the things that you've kind of challenged yourself with, and I don't know how much of you did. I know you did at least one song where you sang. I remember that I know, which was 2016, I think. But what for you was the challenge in singing as much as you do on the record?
Woo! There's a big learning curve in singing. First of all, I'll say I love it because I love melody. I love melody, harmony, and obviously I love rhythm because I'm a drummer. But to express melody and harmony as a drummer is, you can play the drums melodically, and you can sing on the drums, but it's different than singing a melody or playing a melody on an instrument, so to be able to express that is really, really fulfilling, as a drummer. But in terms of the actual performance of singing, to be able to project my voice in full voice, to stay in pitch, keep a beautiful tone, to be able to sing something that's a melody that delivers feeling, message, soul, rhythm. It's just to be able to do that, and to make to be able to make someone feel what I'm doing, is that's part of the challenge,
And obviously, I talk to musicians about this. Some musicians, they start out either as a guitarist or any instrument, and then they move towards being a frontman of a band or something. And for you, then in this process, did it feel vulnerable in a way because you weren't behind your drum set anymore? Was that a thing to get used to?
Completely. I'm like a fish out of water. If I sing a song, man, I'm just, it's crazy. because I feel protected and I feel like I'm in my spaceship, when I'm behind a set of drums.
Sure.
And if I'm just even being in the studio, just standing up, singing at a microphone, it feels weird, Where's my drum? Where's my bass drum? Where's my snare drum? Where are my cymbals? Where are my drumsticks? I got to hold some drumsticks in my hand just to feel comfortable,
right.
Because it's very disconcerting, it's weird.
So what for you was the impetus then to go in this direction? I read that you didn't really have a plan for this album other than you wanted to be all encompassing. So you wanted it to be very diverse and then show a lot of different elements of what you do. So can you take me kind of through that mind space of the first couple of weeks or months as you were thinking and working on this album?
I thought about what I wanted to present, and it kind of developed as it went, because I didn't plan on doing that much singing on this record.
Okay.
It just kind of happened, it was very organic in the way that it happened. It just kept rolling, I wasn't planning on, I was going to maybe do like one or two vocal things, but then it just, I did two, that I produced. And then when I got with Narda, who produced 7 tracks on there, or 8 tracks, it just started rolling. And I didn't even know how many we were going to do together, but we just started writing together, doing these writing sessions, and things just started rolling and happening.
Right.
Before I knew it, we had 8 songs or 7 songs or whatever it was that we did together. I think we did 7 together, actually. So before I knew it, we had we had that many tracks that we did, and it just kind of happened, and it was very, very organic, very natural.
Well, it's the same then true for a lot of the music, where both your husband and people like John McLaughlin, does it kind of come forth out of jam type elements? Is it just a couple of people in the room trying to find that connection musically?
Some of it was just like that. Some of it was certainly like that. Some of it was, in the studio doing writing sessions, like, and then some of it came from just being in the studio and just jamming, like we came to play with John McLaughlin.
Right.
That started out with Matt Garrison on bass and myself, and we were in studio. In fact, my first session that I did for this record was just Matt and me.
Okay.
And we have recorded, we still have other music that we've recorded that I want to put out later, because some of it's just beautiful. Some of it I want to put out just as bass and drums. There's some bass and drum stuff that I want to add some strings to, and just keep it really beautiful and simple like that. There's one track like that I want to do, maybe 2. Okay. But yeah, it's some of it's like that, just playing and jamming in the studio.
And a song like Mother Earth, then, is that just, well, what kind of mood are you in when you record something like that?
Mother Earth happened in a funny way, because I didn't plan to do that either. Okay. I was on the way to the studio, and I was thinking that I like to do solo drum pieces on my records, because I love the sound of just the drums by themselves, just acoustic drums. It's just so beautiful to me. So that's what I was planning on doing. And I was going to do that that day. In fact, I did record some solo drums. I just didn't, have room to put them on this record. I have some pieces that I recorded. But this Mother Earth, I was driving to the studio and I started hearing these layers of rhythms. So I called my drum tech on the way, and I said, "Hey man, do we have any percussion, at the studio? Because I'm hearing, some percussive stuff." And he said, "Oh, we don't have any." I said, "Okay, no problem." I said, please just go grab me some cans, some bottles, some pots, pans, grab anything that I can hit and make a sound on. And so they're so good that by the time I got there, he and the engineer, Mark Gray, they had gathered up, they found a clothes rack. And so they got some rope, and they got all these bottles and pans, and they tied them to the rack. And then they had a trash can, they had a big cookie sheet, from the kitchen. They had, plates, a broken this, and they found a conga drum that was on display somewhere that was cracked, and they found a bunch of stuff, and so I said, oh, this is perfect, so we took all that stuff and I just started layering, just layering some drums, and that's how we did that song. So the thought process for that was really the feeling, and thinking about the earth and the rhythms of the earth. And so that's why I called it Mother Earth, because that's kind of what I was thinking about.
And well, something popped in my head kind of with what you mentioned about never wanting to stop learning as well, which is, I remember Ray Charles once saying about the piano, kind of going like, I can never get everything that this piano has to offer out of this piano. I mean, and then is that a similar approach that you have, that there's always more to explore? There's always, with what you mentioned, with those bottles and the rack, there's always more musicality, more rhythm, more, there's more to explore.
Yeah. And that's one of the beauties of music. You can explore from now until you're 500 years old, and that's one of the things I love about it the most.
And then what is the element of sharing that music then? Because I can also imagine somebody just doing what you just told me, but nobody ever hearing about it. Do you go? Somebody's just that into. There is an element where people also want to share what that musicality and that creativity. And a good example is Everybody's Dancing. It's a very inclusive song. So there's. Can you talk about a little bit about what that sharing part is for you? That sharing your music and creativity.
Yeah, I like that, because the sharing part is really that's the really beautiful part. That's a really beautiful part of it for me, because that's when you can touch people, you can include people, you can bring people together, and when you can touch somebody here in the heart, here in the brain, you can help somebody change the way they think or become more creative. When you can touch them here, you can help them feel not only their own heart centers, but you can help them feel other people. So to me, music is a catalyst for our spiritual development. So when you share that, you're becoming a channel for that.
And I've especially lately, I've been thinking a lot about exposure, and is it fair to say that a lot of with styles of music like jazz that aren't necessarily in the mainstream, do you think that if they had a little bit more exposure, a lot more people would be able to appreciate it?
Definitely, and yes, definitely. If you look at the 50s, Miles Davis was as popular as Clark Gable,
right?
But the music was looked at differently then, and it was pushed more. So if the music, is pushed more, because creative music, jazz music, is beautiful music, and it's healthy music, because it really inspires people to be creative. So if it was pushed more, then definitely people would love it more. So that's one of the things that I want to do. I want to bring it to more people, so when you can cohesively and collectively bring people in, and then share with them the beauty of creativity. Oh man, what a spark that is, because when people start getting into that mode, then they're going to become more creative themselves,
And so is that kind of the part of where that eclectic nature of this record also comes from, where you do have some very jazzy bits, but you're also more rock and pop elements in certain songs, and that it's a good mix of all kinds of things in a way.
Yes, that's part of it. Absolutely. That's a good part of it. Very good part of it.
And now, unfortunately, obviously one of those shared experiences is kind of removed, because we aren't allowed to gather in large numbers, or we can't gather for our own safety. So what has that done to you from a creative or yeah, from a creative standpoint, in a sense, are you longing towards playing, or do you enjoy kind of in the period where you are in now, where you can just focus on the drums and focus on other things other than that sharing element?
I certainly miss playing, you know, with people and sharing and playing for people, you know, because it's a give and take, you know. So, you know, this period it's kind of a shame in that we can't do that, but knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and this isn't going to last forever, this is a good thing. It's a good time to take advantage of this these moments where you can focus on something, where you can, you know, delve in and improve something or develop something or find something new, so that when you do come back, then you're on a whole other level. So, you know, there's good sides to it, you know, but I certainly miss the live playing. Yeah, absolutely.
Final question then. What do you hope when the album is released? What do you hope that people take away from it? What do you hope that they hear, in a sense?
I really hope that people embrace not categorizing music as, you know, by putting it in a little box. You know, I hope that they just listen to and feel the feeling of the music without saying, well, this has to be pop, this has to be rap, this has to be jazz, this has to be something. You know, I hope that they get beyond that and just look at how the music makes them feel. And I hope that people embrace, you know, for people who would only listen to a quote unquote dance song or a song that makes you feel like, you know, dancing. I hope that they embrace creativity, because like I said, it not only is it beautiful music that deserves the recognition and deserves and is worthy of the multitude of everybody hearing it, but also it sparks something in each person, in each individual. And we need that spark in each individual, because I believe that when we're at our creative best, or we're on our creative quest, that's when a lot of the quote unquote stupid things fall to the wayside. You know, all the things that don't matter, you know, all the things that we realize are holding us back, like prejudice, racism, you know, all the things that are, you know, inhumane that we do to each other and we do to ourselves. You know, once you get into a creative space, that stuff just starts falling away. You know, so I'm hoping that this will really help get people into that mode and that way of thinking, you know.
Very last thought then. What was the last thing that inspired you in this way?
What's the last thing what?
That inspired you in this way, or that kind of allowed you to be in this creative space mentally?
You know, a lot of things, it's not just one thing. You know, a lot of things inspire me to be in this space. And, you know, in terms of the creativity, you know, some of it is the exposure that I've had to certain innovative musicians, innovative music, you know. And when I went to New York, fortunately for me, many of the innovators of jazz were still alive and well and playing. So I got to see that energy. You know, I got to feel that energy firsthand. I got to meet those people and become friends with many of them, you know, like Art Blakey, Tony Williams. I got to see Miles Davis, you know. I get to meet Miles Davis. I went to Miles's house.
Right.
You know, yes, he invited me to his house, you know, and we talked about music for like 4, almost 5 hours.
Mm.
You know, Herbie Hancock, who's still alive and well, but
Right.
Wayne, who's still alive and well, Dexter Gordon, Woody Shaw, all these incredible people, Elvin Jones, Philly Joe Jones. I got to see these people and meet them, and they were all, and they are just forces of nature, that have opened up channels for us that are so creative and so inspiring, so there's that, there's the music. I get it also from nature, from looking at and experiencing trees, the ocean, rain, snow, even children make me feel that, seeing a newborn infant, with the fresh life that has just come in, looking at my mom's eyes, at my sisters and my brother and, my family. And, it's just so many things that get me personally into that space, into that realm, and those are things that I draw on every day, just sitting at home with a paper and a pencil and drawing, and making different shadings with one instrument, just that pencil, and seeing how many different shadings I can make. And then later going back and coloring those in and seeing what kind of designs and things, have come out of that. So many things inspire me. A sound inspires me. I just hear something and I'm like, oh, wow.
That's very interesting to hear, because I think a lot of people, they're too distracted with other things. I find it very, I don't know what the right, admirable that you can enjoy those things and live in the moment in that way. That's something I'm still trying to do. So.
Yeah, we all try. I mean, there are points, where we can't. But that's another thing about this period that we've just had and that we're having. I know in the United States we're still having it because we're still in the thick of
Sure.
this pandemic. You're probably further along than we are with it, in terms of what's happening in society. But this is a good time to just sit back, relax, take a breath, and really enjoy the things that Mother Nature gives us freely every day.
Yeah, definitely.
It doesn't take any money to go walk out and touch a tree, or touch a leaf and look at the color of that thing, of that leaf, and feel the texture of that. Wow, it's just amazing. And you think about what it takes for a seed to grow into a 500-year-old tree. I mean, it's pretty incredible,
Right.
So we can enjoy those things, and it doesn't even cost us any money. It's not about that. It's just about, like you said, taking a breath and really taking the time to notice that and to appreciate that. And you see what happens around the world when we do that. Look at Venice.
Right.
That water in Venice is funky, and I love Venice. I've been there a lot. I love Venice. I love walking around. It's so cool. But that water got cleaned. That water got cleaned. I'm going to say it a third time. That water got cleaned. Why?
Yeah.
Because we stepped back, because we had to. And nature took its course. Nature did what nature does. It cleaned itself. So there are lessons that we should all be, and I'm putting myself at the top of the list, that we should all be, listening to and paying attention to, and not saying, okay, well, now the pandemic's over, I can go back and do it. Okay, you can go back and do what you did, but how about going back with a different mindset? That's where I'm hoping that we'll be.
Let's hope so. That's my hope as well. I hope that we come out of this with a better understanding of, like you say, how we treat each other and the world around. So, Cindy, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me.